Hello, my name is Nicole Olson. I teach 5th grade and I'm currently taking a technology integration class for my master's program. Today we're going to be talking about integrating technology into our classrooms, into schools, and any sort of learning environment, because that can be something that is very hard for us to do, a process that we have to go through. So today I'm going to give you kind of an insight of some of the things we need to think about when going to integrate this technology. So today, as you can look on the screen, we have some objectives. Our first one is I can understand what technology integration is and what it looks like in the classroom. It's very important that we understand what those words mean, technology integration. Secondly, we're going to describe how technology creates change in the classroom, at our schools, and how to create that change as well. Next, we're going to be identifying some examples of technology integration and what that looks like. We're going to be describing ways to involve families with technology integration, and we're going to be identifying different funding opportunities as well as budgeting and funding considerations. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at today as we go through this presentation. So before we begin talking about anything, we really have to think about what our why is. Why are we integrating technology? What are our goals? Why is this important to us and why does this matter? So as educators, our main goal truly is the success of our children, of our students, right? We want to make sure they are being successful. So we have to think about what technology integration has to do with that success of those children. What is the bridge that is gapping those together? So when it comes to technology integration, everything that we do with technology is meant to benefit our students. It's meant to create differentiation. It's meant to engage our students. It's meant to increase their level of understanding of our subject areas as well as different skill areas that they're going to use for the rest of their life. So we have to dig deep into these different areas in order to make sure we truly understand what it is technology integration is for our students and how to get there. So understanding that and knowing that this is our why throughout this entire presentation is very important so that we know why it is we're learning about this, why we're listening to this right now. It's because of our students, it's because of what's best for them, and we have to learn it first before we can ever integrate that technology or bring it to our schools. So next, you'll see on the screen, we're going to talk about what technology integration is and how it creates change. So technology integration is the process of incorporating different forms of technology into the classroom. That can be found in many different forms, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. It includes different types of technology such as our computers, student binders, videos, all these different things that we'll be talking about that bring this engagement into the classroom. So it helps create digital citizens in our students by fostering a 21st century learning environment for all of our students. It creates that differentiation. It allows for our students to learn in a new way. And one of the readings that I found had this great quote that I think really encompasses what technology integration really is. And it stated that technology creates educational experiences that would not be possible otherwise, with unparalleled access to information, interactive games, streaming video and real-world simulations, online communication and collaboration tools, and many more exciting ways to expand the impact of learning in schools for students and teachers. So I think this is really important for us to think about because it's not just for our students, but it's for the teachers as well. It helps create an environment for both of us that's really going to be inclusive to the learning that our students need, and it's going to bring those different types of activities in that learning that's really going to influence and help our students in a way that we've never seen before. Okay? So then we really have to think about if this technology integration is so great and we want it in our schools, we want it in these learning environments, how do we create that change in our school? Because if we think about it, it really involves bringing a lot to a school, to a staff, right? It's not just something that just shows up. So it's really important that we think about how to create that change in a school, how to bring forth technology integration to our staff members in a way that's going to work for them. So we really have to think about what our schools need, right? We have to think about the school we're at, what that school needs to be successful. That's the first step. From there, we really have to approach the staff in a way that they're going to understand why we would be bringing this technology integration to them. So we have to approach them in a way where they feel comfortable and where they see the needs of the school and they see how technology integration can be that bridge that gets them there. And then, most important, in my personal opinion, is we have to map it out, right? There's so much research out there that shows that mapping it out and really creating a plan is going to help us be successful. We can't just say we're going to do something and not have a plan to get there. So we have to map it out as a full staff, not just the principal, not just a higher staff, a counselor, a coach. it's the entire staff that really has to think about how are we going to bring this technology to our classrooms and how is it going to be best for each of us, because it's going to look different for every teacher, every staff member at that school. So we really have to come together as a community and decide what's going to be best for us and how we're going to get there. And also important, we have to create those realistic goals. So you'll see on here, we have to think about what we can bring in now and what's going to actually be realistic, because we can't bring everything we want at one time, right? There's so much technology integration out there that we could bring to our classrooms, and we can't bring it all at once. That's not realistic. It's not going to work. It's going to cause teachers to become overwhelmed. So we really have to think about realistic goals as a whole school, as well as specific teachers. We have to come up with those ideas of what we want to do and how we want to get there in order to make this successful. And then lastly, to create that change in the school, we really have to think about the assistance we're going to provide. We can't just expect every teacher in the school to all of a sudden have this technology integration. We need the assistance of professional development, of coaches, of online forums, each other, that's going to help us get there so that we're not feeling alone and isolated in this process. From there, you'll see our presentation moves on into examples of technology integration. So I talked about this at the beginning just a little bit. There's so much technology integration out there, and these are just some of the examples. So we have online student binders, videos, effective online games, including Prodigy, which is an online math game that really provides differentiation for students, iPad apps, digital textbooks, flipped classrooms, classroom blogs and wikis, tablets, smartphones, laptops, virtual libraries. The list could go on and on. These are just a few. And the purpose of this is just to kind of help you understand that it really is limitless what we can bring into our classrooms to help our students and to help make our lives a little bit more engaging with our students, and maybe even just a little bit more simple in a way as well. Yes, it can be overwhelming, and yes, there are a lot of options out there, but that is why we have to really think about it in advance and prepare, as we're doing right now, to make sure that it is successful for both us and our students. Which then brings us to our next topic, which is how we integrate technology at a school. Like I had mentioned before, it doesn't just show up, right? So we have to make sure we integrate it slowly. That takes us back to those realistic goals. What can we do first, and what is that going to lead into? What needs do our staff have? We really have to think about. That's going to really help us think about what they need in terms of professional developments, the assistance they might need, anything that's going to help them. We can provide online forums, books, coaching support, other teacher support. There just has to be sure to be the support needed to make it successful. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So we really have to think about how that technology integration is going to occur first and foremost before we make it anything bigger than that. Which then takes us to our funding opportunities. This is kind of the big part we have to think about, is how are we going to fund this? How are we going to fund bringing in, Chromebooks for every classroom? Or how are we going to fund having iPads? And I think the biggest thing we have to think about is we might not be able to fund everything we want to begin with. It's going to be a process, as I've mentioned this entire presentation. It's going to be a process to get everything we want. But I think the biggest thing we have to do in terms of funding is to start a budgeting committee at our school. That involves our principal, our office staff, our teachers that can come together, just a small group of people that can really look at that budget. What money do we have? How should we use it to make it successful for every teacher at our school? And what money do we need, and how are we going to get it? So I think the first thing we need to do is make sure we have that budgeting committee. Then we need to make sure we discuss the budget and how much money is needed to begin with and where we're going to go next. And then from there, I think it's about looking for budget-friendly opportunities such as fundraisers, reaching out to the community, reaching out to our school district where we do have, depending on the school district, certain monies allocated for these types of things. I think that's where we start. From there, it really can go many different directions. And that's why it's important to have that budgeting committee, because we have to make sure that we're ready and that we have the money to at least get it started and to start it well. Because if we don't, that's really where we have to think about, well, where is this going to come from? What businesses can we reach out to? What fundraising opportunities can we do at our own school within the district? And what money is allocated to us to begin with that maybe we haven't used yet that could be used for technology to really get that integration started? So I think that's something very important that we don't always think about, that we have to think about in order to really start this. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today is how we involve our families with technology. So it's one thing to have your staff involved, it's one thing to have the students involved, but parents must also be aware of the integration that is occurring and why it's occurring and the purpose it has for their children. Otherwise, they might not quite understand because it could be new to them, right? Bringing all this technology could be, kind of a shock, kind of a big deal for parents. So it's important that we let them know what exactly it is we're doing and why we're doing it. And the communication in that is the key to our success. So we need to make sure we hold information sessions, online resources that are available for our parents at all times that kind of lay out what it is we're doing. Provide parent meetings as we start this integration within our schools, and also maybe even some weekly newsletters of just about how is that technology being used. Just as we talk to our parents about everything else and going on with their children, they want to know this as well. They want to know the technology that's being brought in. What is it we're doing with their students? How is it helping them? So just as we always do, this is nothing new. We talk to our students' parents about how they're doing. We talk about what their needs are. This is no different. We do the exact same thing. We just have to take it a step further. So again, today we wanted to talk about some objectives. So I'm going to go back up to those for just a second here on our screen. So you'll see that our objectives today was to be able to understand technology integration, describe what technology is that can be used in the classroom, describe how technology creates a change in the classroom, begin to identify examples of technology integration, describe ways to involve our families, and identify different funding opportunities as well. So today was just kind of a brief overview of those different objectives, and it kind of reminds us of our why, right? We started with saying that our why was about our student success and what they need. So that's what this presentation was about. It's meant to bring us a little bit closer to our students' success and take them a step further. So our next steps after this is really just to begin the process. Get with our schools, get with our administration, and really talk about what is our next step to make sure we are on the right path for technology integration.